Imagine this, immigrating from East Africa to Bakersfield, California, where you're taught hard work and the importance of family through your parents who owned the local liquor store. You had to learn grit and grind the hard way, experiencing the tragic murder of family, and due to the limited media for African American stories, you find your purpose in journalism, to be the voice of your community. In the beginning, you were muzzled from having an opinion, but you refused to quit because you knew your passion would benefit your cause. Today, you're an anchor at one of the top news stations in Las Vegas, where you've paid your dues and now have a voice in the boardroom for your community. This is The Plug, people lending us game.
I am the plug. I am the plug. I am the plug. I am the plug.
Welcome to another episode of The Plug, Season 2. I'm your host, Henry Crockett.
Drea.
I am Nick Bean.
And man, we are back. We're happy to have you guys return for another season. Our guest today is going to be super dope. But before we touch that, Nick, there's some stuff we wanted to just kind of chime on today. What we got?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, the city is definitely back popping. Like, I can't. I'm almost infatuated talking about how cracking Las Vegas is because it's been everything from the Strip, downtown, and anything in between has been shaking. My social media platforms have been booming on stuff that I've actually missed that I'm salty I missed.
Well, what are the new unseen, unheard of spots that you're thinking of?
Well, first, we recapping the past weekend. Delilah in the wind.
What?
Bieber performed. Justin Bieber was there. He performed. Odell Beckham was there. Machine Gun Kelly. Long laundry list of names. That was all through there.
Wow.
Getting it lit. So and aesthetically, I'm all about the aesthetics. Spot looks really dope. The Plug has to go check it out.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
It's a popping spot in LA though too. Like Sunday
that's where it came from, right?
in LA is like the spot to go for Sunday nights. But it was cool because, and I hope that that's always the hard part about bringing LA brands to Vegas is that the reason why they're so popping in LA is because I can have a table at Delilah's, which it's very small. It's much smaller than the Delilah's here, and I don't know who's gonna be there, but 9 times out of 10, it's some big, you'll see Drake walk in, you'll see Drake's dad walk in, you'll see Chris Brown walk in.
Yeah.
It's that spot in
Which
LA.
crazy is Drake and his dad was here.
Yeah,
Jaleel White.
Right.
Yeah.
But my thing though is that H Wood Group obviously invited their people out from LA. My worry is that when they all go back, home because they're not here for the grand opening, is it still gonna feel that way?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be their challenge, and that's been a challenge with a lot of LA brands that have come here to try to open up and be the LA Vegas mix, and then they forget that Vegas is just a very different city.
Well, I mean that's a great point to bring up because the reason why LA is unique is because those celebrities, the bulk of the celebrities are actually living there.
Right.
So Delilah is popping because it's a regular stop for a lot of celebrities.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to go hit Delilah's and then I'm going to go hit somewhere else. I'm going to go to the hills.
Yeah,
wherever they're going, it's a stop and they live there. A lot of those big celebrities don't live in Las Vegas. Don't get me wrong. We have influencers here.
Yeah.
We have celebrities here.
Yeah.
But the amount of celebrities it's just not that many of them here as it is in LA. That's why LA is so unique. It's the same thing with New York. Mm-hmm. Everybody's there. So those are the spots to go to. They go on to Delilah like an average person goes to CPK.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I love CPK, and this is not a shameless plug, but they hang out there.
But no, it's so true. But I think the thing that where they have an advantage is Delilah's gives you that supper club live entertainment feel, and it's not not to knock Mayfair or Rose Rabbit Live, but they played into the whole almost cirky type of show.
Yeah.
And I think if Delilah's can stay true to that, almost like a jazz night, but upscale. Andra Day was the opener for Delilah's opening.
Word.
She performed, and then they have Bieber, which has been a long partner, friendship of H Wood Group for years.
Yeah.
But I think that if they can keep that kind of feel, that almost neo-soul-y, jazzy supper club vibe, and especially at the Wind, which that's like a great pairing, I think that they'll be able to keep, you know, people wanting to come there.
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is that, like, I don't know, I'm not a born and bred person from LA, but in my mind, I'm like, if I live in LA, I don't want to go to an LA spot in Vegas. Like, I want to go to the Vegas spot.
A Vegas spot.
Right.
But that's the thing is what is. So hold on, you bring it to a good point, because there's other spots that's popping in Vegas that are Vegas-y spots, from my understanding. But I want to put that on hold for just a couple seconds, because Virgin.
That's my spot. I've been plugging Virgin. You know this.
Virgin,
all
yes.
Summer.
That's what I'm saying. We gotta go back to that.
Spot.
Dream might need a check for all the plugging
shit. No, for real. Like, before they even opened, I would stay there for that week that we opened Urban Necessity.
You was living there. I was like, hold on. She literally in a room in there and everything.
Love it.
Yeah. So, like, Virgin's got, like, I'm looking at Aliyah. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Aliyah Beach Club.
Oh, that joint fire.
I
haven't been
there. They had Jack Harlow there.
Yeah, well, Jack got a residency at what's the spot Jack got a residency at? Did y'all know about that?
I didn't know that, but
Jack Harlow has a residency.
Options?
Tiesto, wherever it's
Is it Zeus or Zooks? Is that how you say? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Over at Resort World.
Resort World, yeah, he's over at So Jack is at Resort World. That's
that's
another spot.
That beach
yes.
at Resort World.
Yeah, it's pop, bruh. Vegas is popping. I had so many friends that were in town this weekend. You would have thought this was like Memorial or like
literally
or like 4th of July or like Labor Day.
And it was a fight weekend, but not.
Facts.
But still, yeah, it was.
But the lineups were crazy. Yeah. The lineups were literally crazy. A lot of those celebrities that were at Delilah were here for Connor's fight. You know.
And Garth Brooks performing.
Garth Brooks performed, yep. So Vegas has been a very eventful past weekend for Vegas.
And I'm sure it's going to keep continuing.
It has to. Because the thing is like when you think about it, mask mandates, right? Across the country, other than your Texas areas and your Florida areas, it's like people are ping-ponging between Miami and Vegas because it's almost the same thing. You got Strawberry Moon Hotel, which is Pharrell and Dave Grutman's spot. So I see people that's there, and then they here, you know. So the biggest thing is about Vegas is you have these places that are booming for tourists, but it's almost like our locals are checking out the Resort Worlds and the Virgin hotels, and then you got Money Baby. I've been hearing nothing but crazy things about Money Baby.
That's a good time too. That's at the Virgin too.
That's
in Virgin.
Virgin's killing it.
Well, Richard Branson's killing it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
You guys made my ankle hurt talking about that McGregor fight, though. Did you see that leg?
Oh, yeah.
I can't
Broke
do
his
UFC,
yeah.
and I'm a
Broke his
boxing.
ankle.
I love boxing.
Yeah.
Shout out Connor, though, man. I love the dude, man. But ouch, that hurt.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I can't do it. I was literally, not to like go on a tangent, but my first UFC fight, I was privileged enough to be octagon side, and I'm thinking like, wow, like, and I was like an intern, like I was a nobody, and so I thought I had like made it. UFC had offered me, it was a friend of mine, and they were like, come to octagon. I was so excited, that shit is real.
It's brutal.
No, I never want to be that close to a fight.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah.
My
Like,
boy
hearing
Greg
that,
Hardy
like,
got
right
knocked out.
Yeah, it's a tough sport. I mean, you know, the thing is you could be at the top of your game, but if for whatever reason that opponent has your number, you lose the fight. And some of the best fighters, one of the fighters I loved watching was this guy named Brandon Vera. And Brandon Vera, I swear he lost just as many as he won. Yeah. You know, and I'm not trying to disrespect him. It just seems like he was losing a lot of fights.
Right.
And it's the nature of that sport. It's not like, you know, a situation where you go undefeated. You know, almost some of your best. Anderson Silva, I love Anderson Silva. He's lost fights. Right. The guy, I forget the guy from, forget his name. One of my other favorite fighters, for me to not remember his name is crazy. He lost a fight. You know, these guys lose fights. Right. And it's just the nature. That's kind of why UFC.
John Jones doesn't lose any fights.
Well, yeah, John actually, he does because he beats himself. You know what I mean? I just, you know, it's some substance issue or whatever. But John Bones Jones is the truth. He's one of the best, most elite fighters in UFC history, period.
But it's safe to say that now that Vegas has UFC, like, we're open. Like, we said we're open enough times, and it seems like Vegas is taking off. And since you guys were talking about Virgin, there was a big takeoff on Sunday.
Yep, Richard Branson.
And I'm not talking Migos.
Richard
like the
Branson.
third Migos side.
Yeah.
Take off.
Branson made history by rocketing into space with his Virgin Galactic company, as if he doesn't have anything else other to do. You know what I'm saying?
But it's like, it's almost at a point now where it's like, I respect him because it's like, you have to keep, he's created such a persona of like topping himself that it's like, and then of course he's in the, you know, all the billionaires are competing against each other.
Absolutely.
For who has the biggest dick. So it's like, you know.
Definitely that happened.
It's a lot, but I love it.
I mean, you know, obviously there's different conversations when we start talking about space. I'm more of the conspiracy theorist. So.
You think it didn't happen?
I don't know.
Where are you going?
I don't know.
I'm floating in space like Branson. This is how I feel about that fucking airline or fake ass.
Have you rolled
flight.
Virgin before?
I love
I
Virgin.
don't know, but
Virgin like JetBlue, right?
Yeah, I love Virgin. So comfortable.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the space shit. Out of
space.
space.
I don't know.
Like that shit seemed like acting.
Nowadays, you know, this is an easy soundbite. Nowadays, you just never know. You just never know. You know, I would hope that if it is authentic, that great for him. He got a chance to do something, or almost anyone can't do. You know, the average person can't do what he's doing, and he's doing leaps and bounds or whatever you want to call it. But who knows if it's true or not.
I just hope it is, because it's like, it's about time that we finally, I mean, they've been opened that door behind the scenes in the government for years across the world, but in terms of like the public, like, I hope they open that door, because it's like, I mean, we've done the whole air and airplanes and all that bullshit, but now it's time to like take. Wait, you don't fly airplanes?
Yeah, we fly airplanes. Airplanes. I'm sorry. I was thinking satellites and moon and flying out.
You're talking about like flying out of space.
Yeah, like it's time that we like move outside of our.
I mean, look, I've always said we need to be intrigued with what's on this planet as well as we are outside of it. We haven't even gone in the depths of the sea because it's too cold and too dark, according to
and too heavy. Water has weight.
The pressure, the pressure and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, but with Branson though, he made headlines. He achieved that goal, you know, and I think it comes it comes no better than right now because his hotel is booming.
Right. This is a gimmick. I mean, we did it before with Red Bull. We did it before. Who was the Red Bull jump? Was it Branson that jumped the Red Bull jump?
Baumgartner, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that though.
Everybody keeps
if that wasn't
the limits,
real,
I don't think.
Talking about jumping from the edge of the earth.
Yeah, that was real.
Listen, if that was real, that was insane. I watched it.
I did too, but I don't believe. Here's my only thing. I feel like when I go on Google, I saw that same corner image of Earth that I see in every fucking video. Like, it's like, to this day, no one can show me an actual live shot of Earth from a distance. It's the same. If you go to Google right now, not one picture's real. They're all digitally colored. So,
that's why I said that. You know, you never know. Our media outlets.
When you guys are ready to take off, I'll go ahead and put on my spaceship.
I'm ready to take off to the bar.
I feel you.
I'm with it. Let's go.
Our media outlets are doing a good job of pinpointing things.
Well,
so I tell you what, you know, speaking of media, let's get prepared for our next guest.
Media pro on the show today.
Verified media pro.
Maybe she can teach him how to act on camera.
Yeah, no, forget it. Right. I'm not for it.
Let's hit that next segment.
Later. So nice to meet you.
Nice face, familiar face in the city.
I know. I think I've seen her on camera a few times.
Right? I'm going to let the ladies have a conversation while I go back to the couch. Right?
I love it. This is a different setting for us. Usually we're doing drinks with Trio, but both of us ain't drinking. So
no.
We drinking water.
We're doing water and Red Bulls. We'll do a little sober cheers.
For sure. But I feel like it's like, you know, we in summer body still, you know what I mean? People trying to get fit and healthy, so you know, we're gonna ease it up.
There you go.
But this is still gonna be the fun part of the episode. So I don't know if the guys filled you in, but they're gonna grill you when we get back to the couch about your life, your career, which I've heard has been an extensive one. You've had a long, short career in media.
Yeah. It's a lot's happened in a little bit of time.
Okay.
So.
But how did it all start? Where were you born? Where?
Yeah, so I was born in Sudan. I'm East African.
Okay.
My mom is Eritrean and my dad's Ethiopian.
Oh, I love it.
So, you know, they were getting ready to come to America to live the American dream, and I was actually born in a refugee camp. So,
wow.
Yeah, I couldn't wait. They were hoping that I would wait, and because my name is Feven and I have zero patience, I came early. So yeah, we came to America when I was 6 months old, grew up in the Bay Area, moved to Bakersfield, California when I was 10. And yeah, I think I've seen a lot in life, and you know, we were talking about it earlier. I think for me, it's my godparents were murdered. They were shot and killed for absolutely no reason. Walking to the corner store to get some candy for the grandbabies. And, you know, all we were ever told is that they were probably mistaken for gang members. But just the news coverage was terrible. You know, there's a reason that show, First 48, is titled
real.
First 48.
Yeah.
You really have those first 48 hours to appeal to witnesses that might have seen something, to really like tug at the heartstrings of someone that may know something. And you know, for me and my family, we just weren't given that opportunity.
Wow.
So I really wanted to be a voice for people like us that don't typically have a voice. And so I think that's initially what got me into journalism, and I love it. I think, you know, a lot of, especially in this day of, you know, new media and different types of media, it's really hard for people to decipher real journalism from
real.
like clickbait, you know?
Right.
So
put no Cardi B taglines in the thing, right?
No.
Yeah.
So people will always send me stories, and I'm like, this is fake, it's not real. So really helping people, you know, figure out what is and what isn't, and you know, being a voice for families is just kind of what got me
where your
here.
heart is.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up in Bakersfield? Because I don't think, we're in Vegas, so maybe not a lot of people know even where Bakersfield is on a map.
I know. Most people say they've never been to Bakersfield.
Right.
They've like driven past Bakersfield. If you're going from like Southern California to Northern California, you will like see it on the freeway. But Bakersfield's great. I mean, I think it's great if, you know, you are trying to raise a family. At that time, Oakland, I grew up on the west side of Oakland on Market Street, so it was just getting out of control. The crime was just on another level. So my
The
parents,
Bay is real.
It is. It is.
I learned that.
And it's been like that for a long time. So my parents just wanted to, you know, get us out of that environment, and Bakersfield was great. But my parents owned a liquor store in like the worst part of town. I think my whole life has been very much, I have lived life on both sides of the spectrum. You know, obviously my parents worked really, really hard and were able to provide a comfortable life for us. But, you know, we spent most of our time in the hood, like at my parents' store. And so I grew up with a lot of people who didn't have the same opportunities that I had because of their circumstances. And so for me, I always feel like that sense of responsibility too, to succeed, not just for my parents who sacrificed everything to come to America and, you know, give me and my siblings the best life, but for my friends that, you know, for so many reasons don't have the opportunities that I have. You know, it's like I'm not going to waste it because I grew up with people who, no matter, you know, they won't be able to do the things that I've been able to do.
Right, you're kind of the voice for them, and that's that first generation. I'm first generation too, and it's like it's a real sense of like pressure, but in a good way. It drives you to like keep going, to keep, you know, kind of being the beacon for everyone else that was in your.
It gives you purpose, right? And I think life is just much more meaningful when there's purpose, and not only that, but I think that purpose gets you through the hard times, right?
For sure.
Like, you know, we all have days where, you know, they're not as good as the day before, and no matter what, it's that purpose that kind of keeps you going. You realize that it's more than just about you.
For sure.
You know.
What do you do on? I'm sure you're busy. You're doing all this media stuff, but what do you do on your day off? Like, what does a day off for you look like? Or in your dream world, what would a day off look like for you?
Sleep.
Lots of sleep. You're like, I'm in bed all day long.
I wake up at 1 a.m. Every day for work.
Oh,
and
wow.
So on my days off,
Girl, more power
like,
to you. I don't know how you do it.
Yes, it's a lot, but it's great. I'm so thankful that I get to do what I do.
Right.
But for me, it's family.
Okay.
Like my whole everything is. I love having a good time. I love exploring Vegas.
Okay.
That's the one great part about moving to a new city. There's so much to explore, and Vegas doesn't disappoint.
How long have you been here?
2.5 years.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're still pretty new.
Yes,
okay.
yes, and there's still a lot I haven't seen and I still want to
Yes.
see. But I have godkids, and like my best friend moved here with my godkids. And,
nice.
My parents, my niece, my sister, they're really good about coming to visit. So, like Saturday night's a prime example of my life. I saw Bruno Mars, best show ever.
So good.
But I literally went from like Park MGM to like late night swim with my godkids. You know what I mean? And we were swimming till like 5 o'clock in the morning.
I love that.
And so that for me is a nice balanced life. I like to have a good time, but nothing comes before. Nothing really makes my heart as full as spending time with my family and loved
That's
ones.
real.
And laughing, right?
Yes.
Like whatever we can do to laugh.
That balance, you're right, is real though. Because and I think when you're younger, it's like you're so pressured into, I gotta party and hang out and be cool. But then as you get older, you start to realize that like, my family, like, that's what's holding you down.
Yeah. It's definitely important, and they keep you grounded. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget my very first time going live in Bakersfield. My family and friends had a watch party. And so, I get off and I go to it was at my sister's and everyone's there, and like I walk in, I'm like, so how did I do, guys? And they were like, girl, sit down. And I'm like,
they had an earful for you.
Yes, and so they were like, let's watch this together.
Oh my
God.
God.
And they were like, why do you sound like that? And I was like, what do you mean? That's like my news reporter voice. And they were like, no, that is not Feven. We don't know who that girl is, but we want Feven. And I'm like, okay, but that's what family does.
Right. They keep it 100 with you.
Like 1,000, a million sometimes,
Right.
But that keeps you, humble.
Yeah.
And I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that,
honest truth.
Yeah, don't sound like that, Because I thought I needed to sound like, that stuffy. But, and it just makes me happy, especially working in news, especially, this last year working through the pandemic and really, documenting every step. You have days where you're just like, you're sad.
Yeah.
The news, if you have a little bit of a heart, this business will affect you. So it's really important to have those moments where you're laughing and it's like that pure, genuine joy to kind of balance things out.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. I love that. Before we take it back to the guys, I love to drop plug in the local area around here. And you've only been for a couple years, but where give me one spot that people might catch you at. What's one of your favorite spots?
I think we're here, right?
Bloom? Okay.
Bloom for sure is hands down probably one of my favorite spots. It's here in Henderson where I live, so nice to not have to go on the strip.
Right.
And you know this, right? Before moving here, I had friends and family that live here, and I would come to visit, especially if you live in California. Coming to Vegas is you do that a few times a year.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, hey, I'm staying wherever on the strip, come see me. And they're like, I don't want to come on the strip.
No one wants to come see
And I could never understand, who doesn't want to come to the strip?
Right.
And then you move here and you're like, I get it.
I'm over it.
So, very much so. So, being able to, I love, the Olive. It's a Mediterranean spot.
Where's that at?
It is on Sunset, kind of near Pecos.
Okay.
So they have live bands on Fridays and Saturday nights. A lot of times it's neo soul. They play a lot of neo soul. So it's a vibe. Good food, Mediterranean food.
Love Mediterranean
it's a hookah spot.
Okay.
And I like that. So I like the off the strip spots. So a lot of the local places where I can meet people that live here.
Like a chill vibe.
Very much.
All right, so we have to check out the Olive. We're gonna take it back to the couch because the guys are bored, I'm sure. So we'll head back over. No, thank you.
And we're back on set, and ladies, y'all were over there sitting down on.
We were having a good time. She's fun to talk to. I didn't want to come back to the couch, but I know.
Damn, for real?
We have some good girl time.
Right. But we didn't want you guys to be left out. So
it was getting lonely.
Well, thank you for thinking of this.
Right. Well, I'm sure you guys have already explained that we have the lovely Miss Feven K here on the show today, but I've been a fan for a long time. I told her off camera that I can pinpoint the day that
is that creepy
she was
when people do that to you?
I can pinpoint the day. Creepy or not, say what you want. I pinpoint the day. Shout out Anthem Country Club, sitting there watching TV.
What time was it?
And it was actually about 8:05 a.m.
Interesting.
And the show was on, and I was looking. They didn't even have no sound, and I was like, "What the hell is on the TV?" So I canceled my workout to wait for her name to pop up. And then I went to Instagram, had to follow, and I've been watching Fox 5 for about 2.5 years now.
Thank
but
you.
you know.
That is so creepy.
I mean, it's not creepy. I mean, she wouldn't be on TV if she didn't want to be seen.
Oh. We're going to start calling these Henryisms season 2.
Yeah.
That's a Henryism.
Drea-isms on Instagram.
Yes, Drea, yeah. That's where I got it from, Drea-isms. We got Henryisms right now.
But now that we have you here, like, I mean, obviously, you know, you and Drea were there kind of giving a little bit of update, but, like, being a journalist in Las Vegas, like, what is that? Like what is the day in the life that it feels for you that you can kind of...
Well, you know, if you would have asked me before the pandemic, it would have probably been a different answer. I think, you know, during the pandemic, it's been a lot of, you know, providing not only just resources, but a little bit of hope. You know, in a town that's so heavily reliant on tourism. I mean, everything, we're back now. But a year ago, you know, and I'm the type, I mean, I answer phones in the newsroom, which most anchors don't do that, but I want to talk to people. And so, you know, talking to people that didn't know where they're going to live or how they're going to pay their bills. And so I think when the outside world thinks of Vegas, you just think like fun. But you move here and you realize, like, no, this is a community. It's not just like come have fun and, you know, YOLO for the weekend. That there are people, I mean, they don't even say what Vegas, they call it the Valley, right? So I think it's just encompassing all that Vegas is, which we are the entertainment capital of the world for sure. But, you know, there's families and there's all kind of stories out there that needs to be told. So. And just really helping people get excited. And the last 6 months, I think it's been about getting people excited about, like, all right, we spent the last 18 months depressed, sad, everything was closed. Right. We're back. Like, let's get that, you know, tourist money coming back to Vegas and just getting people excited about life again.
That's good.
Man, I can imagine that. But now that we've got people here, like, what is your take on Vegas now moving forward?
I mean, it's where everyone wants to be, right? So my co-anchor Dave Hall, he's born and bred here in Nevada, and so he'll always bring up the fact that like 5 years ago, teams were laughing at us. Like no one wanted Las Vegas to be their home, no team, you know, because of sports betting. We were like the outcasts.
Right.
So now you see people kind of like everybody wants to come here. I mean, we have a football team and. I feel like we're gonna get a baseball team soon, and every day I turn around and it's like another sports team that wants to come here. So I think it's about the growth, right, and kind of just expanding past just being like nightlife. You know, that there's so much more that this city has to offer.
I love that you say that too, because that's like a reoccurring thing for us to talk about on the show is how much the city has changed for all of us that have lived here over. I mean, out of the three of us, he's lived here longer than all of us, but. It's interesting to see how much we've grown and how we're continuously growing. You're right, baseball is coming, and men's basketball will be here, successful hockey. So it's interesting to see and hear you say that your team was a laughing stock at one point because nobody wanted to come and do news here. But you would think because there's so much entertainment going on, you would want to do news here. Absolutely. You know. So my question that I have for every guest that comes on the show. I like to go backwards, and you know, how did you get to this point of becoming an anchor and going into journalism?
So you know, like we discussed earlier, for me it was my godparents being murdered. It was 2009, and I just remember us begging news stations to come and talk to us, to help us beg for anyone who knows something to come forward. They were walking to the store. It was 8 o'clock at night. They were going to get the grandkids some snacks, and they always used to wear these like matching outfits. And so that night they had like matching black sweatsuits on. It's January, it's kind of cold, and so all we were ever told is that they were mistaken for gang members because of, you know, the side of town that they lived on. But I mean, we didn't have detectives come talk to us for 3 days later. You know, you think about a crime scene, especially now that I do what I do, and to know that that crime scene came down in like 4 hours, and you're like, 2 people got killed and that's it.
Right.
So for me, it was really about being a voice for people like, you know, my family that didn't have a voice. My godfather growing up, he used to tell us, he used to joke and say he robbed a bank, right? Like when he was young. And if you knew my godfather, he was just the biggest jokester in life. Like he lived to make people laugh. So we never believed him. We were like, yeah, okay, that's, if you want to, because if you knew him, you would know just how crazy it was that he could ever have done something like that. So we're like, yeah, he's trying to earn cool points, but yeah, no one believes that. And it wasn't until the next day after they were murdered that we were like, oh, because the 5 p.m. news the next day led with his arrest in 1972.
Wow.
And you're like,
oh shit.
What did that have to do with
later.
the fact that they like?
Yeah, what does that have to do with right now?
What is that? But that's just the light, you know, like we were saying, if that was a man and a woman, a husband and wife in their 50s that were white, the coverage would have been totally different.
Absolutely.
It would have been a national story.
Absolutely.
It would highlight all the great parts of their life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so it was just important for me to give other people what we didn't have.
Right.
And so, you know, and that's probably been the best part of this, is to be able to help people find out who did this to their family. So that for me has always been the mission, the purpose. And it's not always, you know, families that have suffered loss. There's people like me and you that are doing wonderful things in this community that don't get they're not highlighted as much as they should be. So really just bringing stories to the table that there aren't that many of us that work in a newsroom. So really bringing those stories to editorial meetings, like, hey, this is going on, we need to cover this, X, Y, Z. So yeah, and you know, just want to give girls that look like me a little hope that, you know, no matter where you grew up, how you grew up, if you have a passion for something and the tenacity, and you're willing to sacrifice a little bit, you can do it.
That's right. I think it's uber important that you mentioned what you said about the difference in color. You know, we all know that, but to hear you say it comfortably, you know, and this is the right space to do it, is important, because someone of yourself that is on the main stage, it, you know, it could easily be portrayed that you may be blind to that or numb to it. And one of our biggest things that we're adamant about is shedding light on those things. And that's the reason why this show was created, because we felt from an alternative perspective, there wasn't a voice like ours, you know, and it's no disrespect to anyone else that's doing what they're doing, the podcast and the different shows. We support everybody, but from our point of view, we want to bring people like yourself and others that are, you're welcome, that are very capable of talking about their experiences here in Las Vegas and being of color. You know, we're really diverse, you know, but it's important to hear color stories, you know what I mean? I don't say black stories, but color stories. You know.
Absolutely, and you know, it's like, it's definitely a balance. You know, you don't want to walk around with a chip on your shoulder, because nothing gets done that way. But really just figuring out how to navigate this world, and really navigating a world that wasn't really designed for us. And being able, but I think a lot of that, you know, I didn't come into it like, y'all gonna hear me out, y'all, you know, this is what we're doing.
It's not the right approach.
It's like, that's not how you do. You work really, really, really hard and establish yourself as a journalist, and then you earn their trust.
Absolutely.
And so it's really about earning that trust. And so there was never a time that I go to my bosses ever that I'm like, I want to do this, and they're like, no. They've never told me no. They only encourage it. Because a lot of times I don't even know if it's on purpose. I think it's just a blind ignorance. If you didn't grow up in certain neighborhoods, if you didn't grow up in a certain way, you really are oblivious to what's happening outside of your world. So it's important to have people from, you know, all demographics, all races, you know, genders in a newsroom to be able to mirror this community. You know, I've had a offer in Denver before I accepted Vegas, and Denver's a bigger market, salary was a lot more, but when I visited, and no disrespect to Denver.
Right. Great place.
But they lack diversity, and so that was very concerning for me. I'm like, I remember being in the airport and like calling my sister. I was like, I think I'm in the Twilight Zone. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, there's nobody that looks like me.
Right.
Like no one. You know, and I'm like, I'm almost to baggage claim, and I haven't seen one person that looks like us. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh wait, there's one, and it was like someone that worked at the airport, not a traveler. You know, and so, you know, as I'm looking, and I'm like, you know, I'm watching the newscast, and I'm just like, this isn't reflective of my world. Like, I don't know this world, and that doesn't mean it's a bad world, but it's like I don't really know what I have to bring to a world that I'm not familiar with, and it's just really important when you're thinking about opportunities to look at the people before you. So I was brought in to be a weekend morning anchor to replace the previous weekend morning anchor, who just so happened to be the only black anchor at that station, a woman. I looked at the fact that she had been there almost 15 years and had never been promoted past the weekend anchor. And there had been several women, men for that matter, that came after her that were main anchors. And so I had to sit back and look at that like, okay. And I looked at her social media when she left. I mean, she was beloved in Denver. Everybody loved her. So why wasn't this woman afforded the opportunities to become a main anchor? And at the end of the day, it just boils down to no news stations are going to model their newscast based on their demographic.
Right.
There's no black people in Denver, so they're not going to make a black woman a main anchor in Denver, and that's just. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's just what it is.
Right.
And so for me, that was a hard no.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, and I told him that. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but the lack of diversity is very concerning for me. And having only lived in California up until I moved here, I couldn't understand that. And just some of the stories, like they just weren't stories that I want to tell, and I feel that are important. You know, I think like that day it was like, the leaves were falling from the sky. Like literally, there was like a traffic jam on the freeways where people were just pulling over to catch
the leaves
that had just fallen.
So boring.
In fall, you know. And I'm like,
boring, but it's just like so, like you said, living in the bubble, like just so oblivious to like.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that was like literally their lead story that day. So clearly it's a thing, right? But for me, I'm like, I don't know how to get excited about.
How do you? That's what I'm saying. Like I don't see that being exciting because it's like it's just leaves falling. I get it. It's pretty and it's causing a stir on the freeway, but it's leaves falling. You know what I'm saying? So
and they do a lot. I mean, that station is incredible. They do a lot of great work. But it just wasn't for me. And you just have to really figure out like that. And that's where I think your passion and your purpose come into play because so many people. I mean, that station is one of the top 10 stations to work for in the country. And you know, no one understood how I was turning them down. I mean, nobody. Everyone was like, "What do you mean? Everyone wants to work there?" And I'm like, "It's not me." You know. And there's not a day that I regretted it. You know, I'm so happy I came here. You know, and the weather's better for sure.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say the 17 inches of snow couldn't have deterred you at all.
Well, random fact. I was in a Lyft or Uber ride in Denver for business, and they said they have over 300 days of sunshine. They said not to tell everybody that because people would move there, but they have over 300. I might be off with the numbers, but it's a significant amount of sunshine in Denver.
It's one of the few places that snows when the sun's out.
Yeah, but they said it's still beautiful though. But anyway, the biggest thing is I wanted to ask you was you said you were in California before Nevada. What part of California were you in?
So Bakersfield.
Are you from there? Okay, so you're originally from Bakersfield?
Yes. Well, I'm originally from Africa, but when we came to America when I was 6 months old, moved to the Bay Area first, Oakland. And then we moved to Bakersfield when I was 10. But I feel like that's where I grew up. That's where I came. Yeah. So I always say Bakersfield is home.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's important too because California is so diverse. But you going into journalism and understanding that there's adversity for people of color. How did you overcome that? What challenges did you face? I think that's something we all have to share with one another, especially with people that are watching. You have to understand there was some adversities if there were. And you should be able to share them.
There has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
You know, I think it's one of those like not carrying that chip on your shoulder. I know a lot of talented people, a lot of talented Black people, and sometimes you are so aware, right, of the lack of opportunities or maybe the disadvantages that sometimes you carry that on your shoulder, and everything that every day it's one of those like, oh, I'm not getting this. If something doesn't, if you don't get it, it's because I'm Black.
Right.
And that's not always the case. You can't always go into that. What you do have to go into knowing is that you're going to have to work 10 times harder than everybody else. Being a woman, you might as well add another, like 20 times, 20 times harder. You know, and I think that is sometimes where people don't realize. You don't really get to. I remember asking one of my mentors maybe a year. I don't even know if I'd been on air for a year, and you know, this was around the time when our former president Donald Trump had got elected, and you know, he had put the travel ban on certain countries. One of those countries was, you know, my native country, my home country. So you talk about relatives that can't come visit America because of this travel ban that's absolutely absurd. And so I remember when the Supreme Court reversed it, and literally I retweeted the Associated Press, and I think I just put like it was like a meme of Drake like clapping. I didn't say a word, and I got called in the office the next day to delete that tweet.
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I was like, you know, I'm an immigrant, right? Like this affects me. This affects my family.
Right.
And I didn't say anything. I literally just
reposted a picture.
No, yeah, we can't do that. You know, and I was so mad. I mean, I deleted it. I'm so new at that point. I'm just like, But I called my mentor and I was like, I don't know, like, where's my voice? Like, I felt like I was losing. I was so much more vocal on social media before I got on the news, because what happens is now whatever you say, whatever you post is held against you.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like we're not allowed to have our own opinions. I mean, we can, but we can't publicize it because then we're being biased.
Right.
And you're like, I don't like, but this affects me. So what she told me is, you're not there yet. I said, you know, when am I going to be able to speak up for myself and for my people? You know, like, I want to, and she's like, girl, you're not there yet. Like the people that, you know, the Don Lemons, and, you know, like they've been doing this for 20, 25 years, and then they get to have their opinion. But people don't trust you as a journalist yet, and don't believe that you're able to like separate the two and not bring how you feel about this situation into your work. So you're not there yet. So I think that's what I have to tell people. We all want to be that voice and be that vessel, but you have to earn that respect.
Absolutely.
First.
Get some skin in the game.
You know, and so until you do that, it's like you just kind of have to pay your dues. And then once you're respected, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll let her do that, you know.
Do you feel like it's ironic that that's the case, given the fact that we're supposed to be a country that's freedom of speech, freedom in general?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. I've never experienced so much racism as I have in the last year, especially this last election. I was called so many, you know, N words, and I never had experienced that. I mean, growing up in California, I think I was spoiled, right?
Liberal,
it's very, and you're like, okay.
Right.
And during, you know, it's like, I mean, people would literally be tweeting me at 4:05 in the morning, and I'm like, you couldn't have possibly brushed your teeth yet.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
You have some other priorities right now. You've got priorities right now, buddy.
You know, because I'm stating a fact about something that's happening in the world. I'm not going to, you know, put my whatever it's political, you know, preference or my views. I won't do that. But these are facts.
Right.
And the messages I would get. I mean, I got called a racist twice last week, and I'm like, how?
Yeah,
you know, like,
it's impossible.
How? And so, really, just having that thick skin, because there were a few times where I didn't know if I could do it, you know, because you're just like the disrespect. And I think that's the thing too. I don't remember that being the case in journalism or in news prior to our last president, but you know, he made it really difficult for a lot of us, not just Black journalists, white, you name it. I mean, if you work in news, you were a target. You know, I know, you know, a girl I worked with in my last station said she was covering a Trump rally. White girl, young, sweet as heck. She got spit on. You know, so it's not even so much a race thing when you're dealing with
just
people.
hatred.
It's just the hate.
Pure hate.
You know. And of course, if you look like me, they slap the race card on you. So really, just staying composed. You know. And again, knowing your assignment and sticking to the assignment. You know, and the mission.
I think it's most important to understand that there's two things. One, there's a lot of keyboard gangsters out here.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of these trolls that like to get behind the keyboard. They'll
fingers.
never approach you in person.
Oh no.
One, two, people are going through things. Our last presidency shedded a light on people having problems. The collective, you know, front has issues.
Yeah.
So here's this opportunity where they feel liberated to just get their shit off on anybody they feel like it, just because that's what it seems like everybody else is doing. So I think that's something that anybody watching that wants to follow in your footsteps should also take in consideration. That I guarantee if you sat down with a lot of these people, they couldn't tell you why they hate the way they do. They just hate them. Just because they think it's cool.
You know, it's like they just want to belong. A lot of people, right? And it's like you don't care if you belong to something that absolutely just stands for hate and horrible.
Exactly.
You just want to be a part of something.
You're conditioned to believe the shit that you believe. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, again, those are the adversities you faced, and you were able to become triumphant over those.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think for me, growing up a lot differently than some of my counterparts, you know, I've seen a lot of different things. My parents owned a liquor store in the hood, so even though they worked really hard and provided us a very comfortable life, you know, I got to see. There was two worlds in my world, you know what I mean? And I went to school in the worst part of town, and you know, where I would hang out, but I'm glad that I have that. You know, I'm able to balance it all because I have. You know, I know people in this business that went from, you know, high school, college, and lived very privileged and very sheltered. And, you know, you send them out to a murder scene and they're like, I can't do this.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean? You know?
Right.
Or if I can talk to anybody because I've dealt with so many different types of people. And I think when you've dealt with tragedy, you know, when you've dealt with hardships, it just makes you a little bit more well-rounded. And you can handle things a lot differently. And so I think in the beginning, though, for me, a big fear was I wasn't as polished as some of the other ladies in the business, you know. You know, the way I talk isn't, you know, your average standard. You know, like my voice. And so I think I was afraid of the judgment, for sure. That's been a thing, too, that it's like, okay, well, I grew up a little differently, I talk a little differently, I dress a little differently. And I didn't think that I would really be accepted by, you know, my colleagues because I wasn't like them. And then some time goes by and you're like, oh, wait, like, I don't really want to be like you. You know, like, I want to be different and, you know, I want to be true to myself. But that's also sometimes a balance of how do you stay true to who you are, but also maintain that level of professionalism, right? And you want to be respected for what you do and not always what you do when you're not at work, but you want to have a life. And so it's really that balance. I mean, you know, anybody who follows me on social media knows, I mean,
we have an audience these days.
From, you know, I mean, the way I dress to the way I do my hair to what I do, it's not your typical TV news anchor. But it's important too I have a lot of friends who quit the business because of that. That felt like, you know, why am I judged if I post a picture in a bikini? I don't like that. You know, and me and my friends, whether it's my Latina friends or my Black friends, we talk about that when you're a curvaceous woman, right? You got a little bit of curves, and I mean, I could post the same picture in the same bathing suit as someone with absolutely no curves, right? And I'm going to be bashed for it.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Too.
It's too, you know, we could, same thing. And it's like, it's not my fault.
Right.
You know, why do I have to dim my light?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because of that. So but again, it's a balance. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that we refrain from doing because there was something today. I saw a friend of mine, a white reporter, post a TikTok video with a song, and you know, we sent it to each other. I'm like, that we could never ever make a TikTok with this song in the background.
Right.
It could never be us because we will for sure be dragged for it. But you know, it's a different story when you don't look like us. But I can say that I don't ever feel like I haven't gotten an opportunity because of the color of my skin. I know people that have. I can't say that for myself. I can't ever say, oh, I didn't get it because I'm black. I don't feel that way. If I didn't get it, it's because I wasn't qualified for it.
Right.
But that's my experience.
Right.
That's not everybody's experience. I can only speak for myself. So really just being honest with yourself about what it is and understanding that it's not always about you trying to prove a point. It's not you. It's a game of chess.
Right.
So even this, like a couple years ago, I probably wouldn't have done this, right?
Right.
But you're like, you don't
Respectfully.
want to be scrutinized, and that's what happens.
Respectfully, yeah.
So you get a little bit more comfortable, and I'm there now, and with your, you know, now I feel like I've put in enough work at, you know, Fox 5 to where they trust me, and it's like I got a little bit of job security to where I'm like, all right, I don't feel like I'm gonna lose my job if I say the wrong thing today. So you just put in that time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your authenticity has allowed you to stay in this game longer than some of your friends?
I think so, yeah. And it's funny you say that because it's exactly what I was afraid of, that I think that has kind of separated me from, you know, from the rest, and I get that a lot. And I think for me it was, you know, even when I was in Bakersfield, I'd be out and the different type of people that would come up and be like, I watch you every morning, and I'm like, you do. You know, like, but you don't look like me. You don't look like my parents.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like in your 70s. Why? Like, you like me? You know?
Right.
And so, because you feel like only people that look like you are going to relate to you, but it's not. I think people relate to the authenticity.
Absolutely.
You know? They're like, whatever it is, whether it's something really funny or something really heartbreaking, we know that you're being very genuine about it. And I'm going to give an honest delivery either way, you know. And there's times where my mom is texting me, she's like, you look like you're about to cry. And I'm like, I am. You know, she's like, fix your face. And I'm like, I can't, you know. So
Right.
I can't help it. So yeah, but I think it's definitely important. But was it always easy to be just my I mean, I think so. But have I always been comfortable with being my authentic self? It's easy, but have I been comfortable? Not so much. And it's. I remember when I got here. So in Bakersfield, it's like that's home, right? I'm like, oh, you know, they love me. You know, I'm a hometown girl. And then I got here, and I was really nervous. I'm like, oh my God. Because the other flip side, too, and you probably know what this feels like when you are a woman. If you're a good-looking woman, sometimes people feel like you got the opportunity because of what you look like. That you're only in this room because of what you look like, and so that's another reason you're going to work 10 times harder. I feel like because I have to prove that I am not here because of this, that I'm here because of this, and so when I was like, be serious, and my co-anchor Dave, who's just amazing, you know, I think like the first time I said something funny, he was like, you're funny, and I was like I have to be serious anchor woman, you know. He's like, no, and so he really just started, you know, doing and saying little stuff to make me feel more and more comfortable, and now I'm just goofy for no reason. But I'm thankful to people like him that were like, no, it's okay. It's okay to be you. You don't have to be. No one wants that. There's that on every other channel.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's important to just feel like you are either working or spending time with people where you're celebrated and not tolerated. And that for me was why I wanted to come here. I felt that from the gate.
I appreciate that. But there was something you had said earlier, and I don't want to drag it out too long, but We heard something like this from season 1 and we touched it, but I want to touch it from you, from your standpoint. You mentioned a mentor. Tell us a little bit about that process and the importance that you found in your success having a mentor.
For sure. It's so important to find someone that, for one, that you trust, right? And that you feel like genuinely wants to see you win. I've been so blessed to have, a few of them that I can, and I'm always, to this day, I will cut clips. Hey, what'd you think about this? Or a story. What do you think? How could I make this better? Because you can't grow if you think that you are just that good, right? Like, I don't ever want to be complacent. I never want to be stagnant. I still can't believe when people are like, you're really good. Right. You know, I'm my biggest critic, and every day I can find like 50 things that I've done wrong. I really don't know what I did right today, and then you'll get an email or voice somebody, and you're thankful for it. But with my mentors, it's like, I don't like that. Like, why'd you say that? You should never say this, or maybe you should. And they'll be honest with you, because that's the only way you're gonna grow. And not just in like my craft, but just in like decisions that I make. Houston was another offer that I had, and a mentor of mine was like, you're gonna go to Houston, and you might, maybe you'll get to fill in anchoring every once in a while, but you're not gonna do it much there. Like, go to Vegas where you're guaranteed to do it at least every day, because you want to get those reps in. And even though you're like, Houston is like a top 2 market,
Absolutely.
right? And it's like, no, trust me on this, And for me, I love breaking news. Like, I love being out live. So when I came here, I had other main anchor offers, and I didn't want to do that yet, because my favorite anchors are the ones that they kill it in studio, but then you put them out in the elements and it's flawless there too. They're not just a one-trick pony,
right.
I never wanted to do that. I'm not saying anyone can anchor. I know it's not that easy, but to be able to do both is another beast. And so I knew I had that opportunity here, and then within less than a year, that they made me a main anchor. But I'm always like, hey, can I go out live? There's this that just happened. Can I go? Because I always want to work on that craft. But that's for my mentors, I'm always saying, don't stop. Like, you always want to do that. So just having people that you trust is so important. Whether it's, a lot of times your professional and personal life merge in this business. Mm-hmm. And so even having people that are, been doing this for a long time, that can tell you what you should and probably shouldn't be doing. So, one of my mentors, he, is a really big name in this business. And so, he'll tell me sometimes, babe, you gotta watch out with some of those pictures. Well, you have permission to send it to me. Like, if there's something, or even if I, tweet something or put up a story, like, and he still has it. I'm like, you haven't seen anything you want me to take down? He's like, no, but just watch it, So, these are things that other people aren't gonna tell you. So, but yeah, and just wanting to be that for other people. So, like, when students reach out to me, I love helping people, but I tell them all the time, don't tell anyone in news that, you really want to be a TV personality. Like, that for me, it makes me cringe when I have someone reach out and it's like, I really want to be a TV personality. It's like, okay, well, this isn't it for you.
Right.
If you're getting into this for
For
that
reason, for the fame.
Yeah. No way.
Right.
Yeah.
no.
That's important.
I was just trying to think about that. Like, maybe I want to be a TV personality.
Tell them no right now.
Listen, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
Tell them no right now. No.
Yeah. No.
You're doing so many great things in the community. I don't think you need to add that. Like, that's what she's here for.
Just shoot my dreams in the foot.
No, it's like I'm being like a mentor to you. Like she said, I'm being honest.
I said you being a mentor. Oh, Lord.
Keep a mentor, guys. No.
Right.
But I mean, we could probably talk about one last thing before we get you off the set. For our fans, so this is the plug. It's an acronym for People Lending Us Game. And today, we have Miss Feven K on the couch, lend our audience some game, some profound, something that they need to know that they can pull out of their toolbox if they wanted to be in journalism. Dig deep.
I think if you first and foremost go and intern at a news station before you spend all that time, and that goes for whatever you want to do in life. Go and get your feet wet so you don't waste your time doing something that isn't for you. We can all in our minds have this dream or this vision, and then you get to it and it's not what you expected. I was a senior in college, and I was like helping teach journalism classes because I was interning, and I'm like, they don't do it like that anymore because a lot of the professors were like 10 years removed from a newsroom.
That's so real.
Yeah. And so they're like teaching you like the textbook stuff that you can, but that's not really how things are happening in a newsroom, and nobody tells you, that you might have 13, 14, 15-hour days. No one tells you you don't get breaks. Sometimes you don't eat. That you're gonna cry a lot or just be frustrated, and you're not gonna be that good. I know for me, I was terrible. But I just tried to keep going. I had enough people telling me like, it's okay, you'll get better. But I also knew the mission what my passion is, and why I'm doing this, and that gets you through it. So really just researching your craft, and then finding somebody that is doing it. That's really the key. Find somebody that is doing what you envision doing, like what you want to do. And I guarantee you, most people that have found success do not mind helping other people be successful as well. Like, there's really no one I've ever reached out to that I've looked up to and been like, hey, that has shot me down or ignored me. People like to help for the most part, despite what's going on in the world today. People are genuinely good human beings, right? They're kind and they want to help. So finding someone and really studying that craft, it blows my mind that I know people that work in this business that don't watch the news. It's like, how? Like, what do you mean you don't watch it? You don't care? You don't, And so for me, I do. That is, I go to school every day, I feel like, right? I'm watching my favorite reporters, my favorite anchors, their delivery, how they told a certain story. Like, oh, I never would have thought to use that word. Or, I like that live shot. I like that idea. And so it's just a constant and never becoming complacent, never just being comfortable where you are. You should always be growing. When you look at them, look at Richard Branson. He's 71 and just flew to space on his own. Like, it's a constant, you're constantly wanting to evolve. And I think in today's age, it's just staying on top of it, right? Like, not wanting to fall behind, because I've seen that. There's always going to be somebody that's coming in that's younger, that's sharper, that might know certain technology or social media a little bit better than you, but that's why you constantly are wanting to keep yourself trained and educated and what's the latest. I still, from time to time, I like to edit my own stories because I don't want to forget how to do that. I know Final Cut, I learned it, and so I have to put it to use, even though I have editors that are more than happy to do that for me. So just knowing that the game is always going to change, always. It never stays the same, and making sure that you change with it. Stay true to who you are, right? But as far as whatever your craft is, I say it with even hairstylists, right? Like, I'm from Bakersfield. Some of those, they still doing the same hairstyle. Some like
90s. The Rachel.
I just got a picture of that too.
Not everyone, but the ones that are successful are the ones that are learning the new. You know what I mean? So it's whatever it is that you want to do in life. It's just staying on top of it and keep on evolving and keep up with that training. I go to NABJ, which is the National Association for Black Journalists. They have an annual convention.
Wow.
I don't miss out every year. There's IRE, which is for investigative reporting. Do that every, you know what I mean? So always just looking for ways to, if there's an online, seminar, I'm doing it. I always want to learn, always want to put yourself out there. And you just never know where it takes you. And that's the beauty, I think, about life, right? It's especially now with the internet. It's like whatever you want to do, you just have to ask Google.
Yep.
That's
Learn
it.
it and do it.
There's no excuse for it to not, but just be realistic. In what I could never be a supermodel, right? I'm not gonna wake up tomorrow and be 5'5" or 5'6", 5'7". That's just not feasible. Not that I ever want to do that, but you know what I mean? Like really being like cognizant and honest in your capabilities. So yeah, I mean, am I gonna do this forever? No, but I definitely eventually want to transition back into management, which is what I wanted to do from the beginning, and help run a newsroom. That's like 20 years from now.
That's what I'm saying. Where do you feel like before we end on you? Where is the next 5-10 years for you?
God willing, I'll just still be able to tell these type of stories. Now that I feel like, especially with my career is a little bit, I feel a little bit more solid in what I'm doing. I love giving back. I love being in the community. For me, it's really important for kids to see that you can do whatever you want to do, no matter where you're from. Yeah. We don't necessarily in our neighborhoods have the same resources, the same innovation that you see in more affluent neighborhoods. So really getting into some neighborhoods and showing them how cool would it be if kids in North Las Vegas could see this, and really you can do it. It's just a matter of seeing people that look like you doing it. Right. And so that is definitely a goal before the end of the year, is kind of getting with local leaders and getting, with the school district and seeing what communities could really use that. I know so many people, whether, they're successful hosts or, great at production or, DJs, friends that have successful clothing lines. And it's like they didn't even go to school for it. A lot of people that I know that are successful in their careers, a lot of them didn't go to school. They just were tenacious. They found something they were passionate about. I have friends in LA, they love sneakers. I'm a sneakerhead. And so these guys from Virginia just were like, we want to sell shoes. And now they own the biggest shoe stores in LA, whether it's Cool Kicks. And I'm just like, these are just kids that came and we like shoes. And just figured out. And so I just feel like, in our communities there's so much talent. There's so much creativity. It's just really giving kids the resources to be able to do that. I mean, we're the biggest influencers, you know what I mean? You look at all the dances on TikTok, who's creating them? But we're not monetizing off of it. And so really just teaching kids how to monetize off their talent, their God-given talent.
Well, I will have to say this. We will be, and I'm going to speak for everybody, including Darrylw behind the scenes. We are more than happy to participate in any of that you can give back to the community in regards to stuff like that.
1,000%. For
sure.
So obviously, seems like the plug of the day is there's no success without successors. And I would like to thank you. I see Nick's drink's empty. That's usually in my
That's
cue.
the cue, yeah.
And I'll finish mine.
Talk y'all ears off.
No.
Wait, before we wrap up, where can they find you? Where can they follow your journey?
So Feven K News on Instagram, Feven_K on Twitter, and Feven K News on Facebook.
That's right.
And you can wake your ass up early in the morning.
Monday through Friday, 4 to 7. But I'm on till 10. So and we're doing some really great digital content here soon, where we're going to be kind of highlighting the city and a lot of my favorite spots. So, and we really just want to help local business owners, right? We want to keep that money here in Vegas. We want to keep growing the city. So
will Fox be plugging the plug?
Yeah.
That's it. Well, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Can you toast non-alcoholic
No,
glasses?
you can't toast empty glasses.
What about water?
Yeah, it's okay.
Just a little.
I mean, I guess so.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
I am the plug. I am the plug.